Hello beautiful ones, thank you so much for purchasing this Uranus and Taurus special video. Thank you so much for joining me. I have to say, first of all, this is something I am really excited about. I understand this energy intuitively because Uranus is quite a player in my birth chart, and I will actually give you a little bit of personal information about myself so that you can help relate it to how it might affect you, because sometimes it's easier when you have examples, isn't it? But like I said, I'm so excited about this energy. The world is not going to be the same again after this. It just won't be. The next 7-8 years are going to change so much. We're going to see a complete revolution, a complete turnabout in the world about us. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about not the basic, but the general energy of Uranus moving into Taurus, and then I'm going to go on to the astrology, your astrology of Uranus in Aries, Uranus in Taurus for Aries, okay, in your first house or in the sign of Aries. And then I'm going to go on to the tarot. So if you do want to skip ahead, feel free to. I'll put a little timestamp up here so you'll know where to go to if you want to jump the general intro. But what I will say is that this introduction is definitely worth listening to because, yes, it's great to know how things affect us personally, but this is a game changer. Uranus and Taurus is a game changer, and a lot of us astrologers have been looking forward to this for a really long time. So I made a lot of notes just to remind myself of things that I don't want to forget. So what is Uranus? Uranus is innovation. It is sudden change. Uranus is progressive, humanitarian. Okay, Uranus is not afraid to go outside of the box and go against the status quo. It's actually a disdain, really, for the status quo. It's that place in our chart where we just don't settle, where we just don't accept the norm. So it's always worth looking at which area of your chart Uranus rules. So for instance, throwing in a personal example, Uranus sits quite near to my IC, okay, quite near to my IC in my 4th house. So and it's in Sagittarius as well. So this sees me being very progressive and very, I rejected and was rejected by the family, the parental family quite a few times in numerous ways as a youngster. I'm happy to talk about this kind of stuff now because it doesn't affect me, and it's just part of a story that can help to educate others with. But for instance, I had separations from family, separations from home at a young age. I travelled around a lot at a very young age, and that's Uranus. It's unpredictable. Plus he was in Sagittarius, sign of travel and foreign culture. I was born in a country completely different to the one that I now live in. So this is Uranus: change, separation, shock, sudden departure, sudden opportunity. Just to elaborate on that example, so I my mom suddenly left when I was young, and then suddenly came back into my life one day. Just popped up on Facebook about 2.5 years ago. That's Uranus in your 4th house. That's that kind of story. That sudden crazy change that sometimes it can be heartbreaking, but ultimately it leads you to bigger growth, and then suddenly something can happen that's a wonderful surprise and opportunity. So this is Uranus, okay? So that's how it acted, in how it played out in my chart as a planet. And then in terms of where he rules, which house he rules, that will be more where you will feel that sense of wanting to rebel, wanting to go against the status quo. Another personal example, Uranus rules my 6th house. Your 6th house is about the day-to-day. It's about work. It's about the service that you give to others. Uranus is innovation, technology, also astrology. So and humanitarianism. So it's interesting, isn't it, that what I do, the service I want to give is about innovation. It's about progressive thinking. It's not the norm for people to study astrology. That's what I chose to study, and I wanted to do as a livelihood. And being my own boss, not having to answer to anyone else, that's very Uranian. That's the area in which I show that kind of progressive, slightly out of the box, maybe a little bit eccentric kind of point of view. So it's interesting to note where these things are in your chart, because it will give you a deeper understanding not only of yourself but of how this planet functions. So when he moves into Taurus, what is he saying? Let me just put this one down for a second. Actually, there was something else I wanted to talk about, you know, so no, we'll go on to that in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm getting excited. So when he moves into Taurus, what is he doing? So he's shaking up our foundation, he's shaking up our structure, he's shaking up our value system, our financial system, he's shaking up our material resources. And this would not be such a big deal if we were not so materially based. But we have been, haven't we? We've become a society that's become very, very concerned about how much money we have, how much wealth we have, how big our homes are, how flash we can be, how much have I got, how much can I keep. We're very obsessed with stability and security. And I think this is fantastic. I think this is a breath of fresh air, because the fact of the matter is the reality of life, of reality, okay, not the human construct of it, is that nothing is permanent, everything is changeable, and nothing is stable. The only thing you can trust in is that there will always be change. And in actual fact, putting our trust always in our resources, a sense of security because of the values that we have, the valuables that we have, is a false sense of security. Now I think what Uranus is going to do here is he's going to help liberate us from this earth-based, materialistic-based way of being, way of valuing things, and way of living as a society, which I think is going to be healthy. But for a lot of people it's going to be a shock, especially those who are very materialistic, who don't want this kind of, don't like change, and who are very much keeping up with the old guard. For them it will be hard. Now we're going to see changes in obviously the financial institutions. We are going to see changes in government, in maybe even the way that we're taxed. We can expect to see big changes. You know, at the same time, it's interesting because we've got Saturn in Capricorn currently. And that rules, you know, Saturn, Capricorn, these are about skyscrapers. This is the big wigs. This is the guys right at the top, okay? All the big money men, the old boys club, all of that kind of thing. And what's interesting is there's going to be a lot of action. And at one point we're going to actually have a stellium with Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn and Ceres all in Capricorn, while Uranus is in Taurus. This is revolution. This is transformation of structures. This is completely seeing structures breaking down. We could see skyscrapers falling down. We could see, symbolically, you know, we could see, for instance, you know, if you think of like Trump Towers, you know, which really is a symbol of wealth, corporate, you could say corporate greed, a symbol of, you know, the haves versus the have-nots. We could see those kinds of structures due to earthquakes or natural disasters suddenly coming down, and that's very much a Uranus and Taurus thing, because it's a way, Uranus kind of goes, hey, I'm causing a revolution here, and it will do things very symbolically. So we can expect to see, especially I want you to watch out for the 14th, 15th and 16th. Uranus likes to enter with a bang. He likes to give us a big sign to let us know, right, I've changed signs. So expect to see something a little bit out of the ordinary, something perhaps shocking, whether it is an earthquake, a huge electrical storm, because Uranus is electrical energy. You know, expect to see that. And you know, it's going to be Uranus's entrance into Taurus, essentially. And if it doesn't come about that way, there may be some news relating to financial institutions, relating to cryptocurrency that comes out around that time. Even the way I'm talking, I can feel the energy. It's electric, it's charged. We're all going to feel this. Taurus is a feeling, sensual sign. He is about the five senses: what we taste, what we touch, what we smell, what we hear. What's the other sense? What? Taste, touch, smell, hearing. There's another one. Sight, that's the one. So yeah, he's about those things. So we're actually, a lot of us, on a physical, especially if you're very in tune with your body, and if you're sensitive to the environment around you. If you're sensitive to anything like atmospheric pressure, you will feel this change. There will be a surge in the electricity in the air. And so what I would say to everybody is definitely make sure that you are getting enough rest, because this can cause anxiety, it can cause problems with sleep and insomnia, overthinking, stress, that kind of thing. Magnesium would be a brilliant thing for everybody to be taking at this point, because it will just chill that system down a bit, the central nervous system. It will chill it out a bit, and so you'll be able to kind of get your head together. I mean, loads of people are deficient in magnesium. So especially during this time, I'd recommend taking a supplement or a spray, which is even better, which you just spray it onto your body and it absorbs so much better. So we're looking at the unpredictable, electric, shocking quality of Uranus, which is also enlightening, by the way. It doesn't break down to just destroy, it breaks down in order to improve. This is what we have to understand with Uranus. It's about improvement and progression, and if something is not working anymore, if it's stagnant, then it's time for it to go, and Uranus will come along and it will break it down. And I, for one, am very relieved, because I think it's about time that this big boys club that's been running the world, and all of this corporate greed and this patriarchal society, which is so out of whack with where we are in terms of humanity and our consciousness, and it's so archaic, and it's just in the Jurassic period. It is time for that to have a revolution, and for those who have been trodden down to now be able to have a voice and to have their freedom, their liberation and their rights truly expressed and back. And so we're going to see women's rights coming to the fore. We're going to see anybody who has been in some way oppressed coming to the fore. So we're going to see, I mean, there's been a lot of racial tension, hasn't there, in America with the black community and the police. We're going to see an uprising in these people actually being able to make change that lasts a long time and is based on equality and fairness. And no longer will it be about, you know, the old boys club ruling the world and being able to put everybody in their place, which I think is much needed change. So expect to see a lot of transformation, revolution, and breakthrough, breaking free of things. We're going to see technological advances as well. We're going to see more and more people being interested in things like astrology, esotericism, more and more people wanting to looking into ways that we can help improve the physical body, because Taurus is very much about the physicality, science merging with technology, so that we kind of have this almost we have technology that's a lot more, I want to say symbiotic, but there's another word for it, that's kind of more body-based technology to help improve our quality of life. We're going to be looking at technology that really works in tune with nature, because Taurus is about nature and the abundance of the earth. We're going to be looking at, do we value our planet? And if we do, how can we use our technology and our progression to help to rebalance the planet, and bring a sense of, you know, being at one with the planet, being a species that's in harmony with the planet back again. How can we do that? Out of chaos will come new ideas, forward advancement, improved living situations, but there may well be a sense of a balancing out, a toppling. Those who have a lot may find themselves with very little all of a sudden because of a crash in the stock markets. We don't know. It's so hard to predict because it is the unexpected, but history teaches us basically what Uranus does. Because when we look back, the last time that Uranus was in Taurus was from June 1934 to May 1942. Now, this was towards the end of the Second World War, and we had the Great Depression, and suddenly, you know, people were living off of rations, and they were needing food tokens, and we were looking at issues of war and human life, and how we value human life, how we value money, and all of these came to the fore. And history is going to repeat itself, not because I think we're going to end up in a world war, but because I think we're beyond that. I think we've learnt that lesson. We've learnt that physical. To me, that's a very lower. It's like a lower chakra, lower energy field lesson that was about physically going to war. Now, in order to reassess the value of human life and the value of money and currency, we don't have to go through that kind of trauma again, but we're going to be looking at it from a higher perspective, from a higher mind. We're going to be looking at the value of human life and money, and the way we use money may very well change. The way we invest is likely to change. The way we earn is likely to change. There may be sudden investments in that are about bringing people up, from the breadline, from hand to mouth living. There may be sudden payouts to people who are in those situations. That's on the more optimistic end. At the same time, we could also see that we no longer use physical money by the end of this transit. That we don't use paper money, coin money at all by the end of this. Uranus through Taurus very much changes currency. So, there was Uranus and Taurus is also associated with when we came away from using cows and such to barter with. So it changes the type of currency we have. So don't be surprised if 8 years' time we don't have a physical currency as such. Okay, so I personally feel like this is going to see a lot of people branching out in ways that are just very different. A lot of people saying, actually, I don't want a terraced house in the middle of the suburbs and to just have a 9 to 5. I wouldn't be surprised if people start building tree houses on small plots of land that they buy, or loads more people going off the grid, more people becoming nomadic. It's almost like we're going to get this sudden realization, which is already happening. We're already seeing it. But I think more on a global scale, we're going to get this realization that, hang on a minute, just because that's the way it's always been done, just because for however long people have been living in houses and driving cars to work, who said I have to buy into that reality and that way of life? This is going to see a lot more people suddenly realizing they have the freedom to live how they choose to live. And more people will be living off of the land. More people will be, like I said, nomadic living or unusual ways of living, and it will be in line with their values. They're going to start saying, hang on a minute, I never wanted this. I never, if you'd asked me when I was a kid what I would have loved the most, like to have lived in when I was younger, I would have told you it would have been a tree house in some huge oak tree in the middle of some forest somewhere. People are going to start doing that. Expect to see people rejecting the status quo in order and in favour of what marries up to their own values and their own value system, which I personally think is fantastic and I really love. And that is really what this is about. It's about setting people free, essentially. So in that sense, we're going to see individual expression in terms of people's value systems, people not being content to settle. And I mean, one of the reasons I relate to this energy so much is, like I said, it's in my 4th house, and I've always been very anti, why should I have to just do that typical thing that everybody does and just settle down and get married young and have some kind of normal job. I've always been always rejected that notion very much. I've always thought, no, I can live my life on my own terms, and I believe everyone should have the right to live their life on their own terms as long as they're not harming anyone. Well, this is this energy, and it's so nice that finally the world is catching up with me. Hi guys, it's good over here, isn't it? I jest. But no, seriously, because you find that people who are very Uranian are ahead of their time, and quite often they are outsiders. So this is going to see us being more accepting of, more open to, and wanting to follow the leadership of people who were once deemed as being odd or eccentric or outsiders, people who are into astrology, into esotericism, into mixing spirituality and science together. It's going to see us far more open to those progressive people, whereas we haven't been in the past. And the nice thing about this is, there's a saying in the Bible, which is the first shall become last and last shall become first. I think in a sense, the universe always balances things out, and those who once were outcast because of their progressive ideas are now going to start to be listened to and brought more into the fold. And we are seeing that already. Because we're going to be more interested in progression in terms of our values, and not just clinging to the old way of doing things out of fear. And Saturn is very much about fear. Saturn in Capricorn, it's very much about fear. It's about climbing to the top of that corporate rat race and staying there and being fierce about it. But there's a lot of fear involved with it. So what's really interesting as well, one other thing I wanted to mention as well, just as another example, just I want you to, the reason I'm giving you personal examples is so that you can relate and you can apply it to yourself. So another example, nearly everybody in my family has rejected their birth name in favour of their middle name, or in favour of a completely different name. So that to me is Uranus in the fourth house. It's this rejection of my heritage, or rejection, not that I feel I've rejected my heritage, but it's a rejection of, it's a refusal to be impressed upon by my heritage, by the parental, unit. So that's one thing I've always found very interesting, that my dad, my stepmother, my sister, some of my nieces and nephews all use different names to the ones they were given, or they have very unusual names, naturally. I use my middle name rather than my first name. So it's that kind of thing, this kind of rejection of things, and saying, no, actually, I'm going to do it my way. So, what else have we got? I will get on, I promise I'm going to get on to your astrology in a minute, but I'm so passionate about this, and I think it's important that we understand it. So we have to know this transit is going to be going on until about, we're looking at about 2026, okay? We might very well see, in fact, I'm pretty certain we're going to see a new king established in Britain. We're going to see a new monarchy. It may well be William. So this is once again Uranus overthrowing, in a sense. So this is a new king. This also speaks of Saturn and Capricorn as well. If we look back at where Uranus has been in Aries, and it's interesting to note that whilst he's been in Aries, it's been very much about the self and technology. So, we've been obsessed, for the past 8 years with things like selfies, Instagram, Facebook, and how I appear to the world, using technology to make myself appear better, to promote myself to the world, to allow to reach out to different people. We've also seen a lot of self-starters, self-starting businesses, entrepreneurship. We've seen a lot of self-promotion going on. Tony Robbins, people like that have become huge. Abraham Hicks has become bigger than ever, and all this talk about self-belief and I am talk, So we've seen this new wave of spirituality and technology kind of coming into the area and the house of the self. So now he's going to be going into, like I said, that second house of Taurus, and we're going to see so much change, and we're going to see new light, and we're going to get a wake-up call in terms of these areas of life, our value system, our abundance, our income, our also, don't forget, Taurus also rules your sense of, it's about your self-esteem. So, reevaluating your own self-esteem. So, that was a rather long intro, but I hope you enjoyed it, and it's definitely worth listening to. This is a game changer, and this is why it's such a special time to be around. It's an amazing time to exist, because the world is changing faster than it ever has done before, and that tells us that humanity is speeding up as a species in its consciousness, in its evolution. We are evolving so fast, and this is only going to add to that. And as a result, the earth, we move with the earth evolves with us, and she responds, sorry about that fly, she responds to our energy as we do her. And the more that we enlighten, the quicker that we evolve, the more the earth is able to heal and come into balance again as well. So don't be surprised if there are things like volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, unusual activity with Mother Earth, and it's her adjusting to this Uranian energy too, because it's going to be miraculous, but it's also going to be shocking. And although some of the things that may happen to you on a personal level, or even out there in the world, may at first seem awful or scary, they will also be things that in the long run have to happen for the greater good. And Uranus will not take away anything that is right, that is true, that is valuable, but he will destroy that which no longer is working. Okay, now on to Uranus in your sign, and I'm going to do the astrology first, and then we're going to go on to the tarot. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching this intro. Okay, Aries, now on to how Uranus moving into Taurus affects you personally. So Uranus has been in your sign, right, for quite some time, and you were kind of acclimatized to this energy. It's made you maybe a little bit stubborn, made you quite determined to do things your own way in some ways, and also probably given you opportunities to understand things about yourself that you perhaps didn't understand before or hadn't seen before. Uranus can bring to light things that are hidden. So it just could be, in relation to your family or in relation to the past. Perhaps there were issues that you still carried from childhood that you didn't know you still had, that maybe suddenly came to the fore and you had to look at. This can also have seen you moving about a lot, changing what it is you do, and also at the same time being somebody who others find a bit antagonistic, or who others find a bit unusual, or like a bit of a fish out of water. One Aries that I know who really I could see this present in her life, how it was affecting her. She felt like a bit of an outcast or an outsider in the place that she moved to, and it was not because she did anything wrong. It's because she's actually really beautiful, and I think the girls there that were around got a little bit intimidated by her, but we became really good friends. But that was something that she struggled with, because it was almost like, oh, well, I'm this outsider, I'm being rejected. And there can be this sense of like either you're rejecting or other people are rejecting. So there's been this unstable but interesting and growth orientated quality to what you've been going through, lessons to do with the self and self-image as well. Maybe some of you have had plastic surgery, maybe some of you have experimented with your looks. But at the same time, I think what you've probably found is that you've had to know yourself anew on some level. On some level, Aries, you have had to get to know yourself anew, whether that was because you became a parent and you had to understand yourself through the eyes and the role of a parent, whether that was because you became divorced and separated and you suddenly had to know yourself anew because of that. But something would have challenged you. Some things would have challenged you. It could be children challenged you. Your perception of yourself as a parent perhaps got challenged. You thought you did a great job with your kids, and then one of them comes along and says, Mum, I've been depressed for years. And you suddenly go, oh my God, what? And you get this shocking news. So on some level there's been shock and there's been challenge, but ultimately it's because these things needed to be washed out and brought to the fore. So you've contended with that, all right? You've done that, and bravo, Aries. That is not an easy one to go through. So I commend you for that, I really do. And now he's moving into your second house of values, of your income, of your resources, of your self-esteem. And this is the money that you earn, okay? The property you own, the things that you own that you value. Now, we are going to see a lot of shift here. And for you, this is almost like a double whammy, because Taurus, of course, naturally rules the second house. So I feel like you are going to feel it maybe even more intensely than others. I think you and the earth signs are going to feel this energy the most, although we're all going to feel it. All of us, no doubt. But because he naturally rules your second house, it's going to really, you're really going to feel this. So what does this mean for you? Now, this can see some of you really changing up what goes on in terms of your home environment. You may have a lot of land and suddenly feel like, ooh, I want to be free. You might suddenly feel like my possessions tie me down and they are a burden on me, and I want to get rid. I want to feel freer financially. I want to feel freer in terms of what I own. I don't want to have so much stuff cluttering up my life. And it's true, isn't it? Sometimes when we have so many possessions, they actually become a burden upon us. So I can see you feeling this way, wanting to release property. At the same time, it could also see big gains through innovative businesses or innovative business ideas, or investing in innovation. That would be a great place for, I think, anyone to invest, really, but investing in innovation, in progressive things that are maybe science-based, that are about helping humanity on a broader scale. These could turn out to be really great places to invest. We could also see, you could also see, if you've got shares in the stock market, you could see them drastically drop. It's hard. Uranus is always hard to predict, but what I am saying is that it can be great or it can look brutal. at first sight, but it will always, always, always be in the long run for your benefit. I mean, it could be that you're in masses of debt and then suddenly you just have to declare bankruptcy, and you think, oh my god, what if I do this? I'm not going to be able to get a loan or credit for however many years, and it's going to be a nightmare and all this. But then in like a couple of years time, you end up looking back and going, do you know what, that's the best thing I ever did. Best thing I ever did. I feel free, the money that I have is mine, it set me free. So Uranus will do whatever it needs to be done to set you free. And if you are in that position where you have debt, something's going to happen. You never know, you could have sudden inheritance, although that's more 8th house, but you could have a sudden gain through the investments you've made. You could have a sudden increase in your pay. Your business could suddenly start booming, especially if you're in anything to do with technology, the sciences, even farming, agriculture, land, that kind of thing, and merging that with technology. That could be a really, really great way to invest your money. You're going to see your value systems go through a shift as well here. What you value, what you believe is important in life is very much going to change. You're going to be questioning these things. Now, it could be that some of you were very money-based, that you felt that it was important to have a certain amount of money in the bank, or that it's important to be very financially independent. It may be that you looked as money as being your deepest sense of security, and then suddenly you go through a changing in your value system as it relates to that. We all need money to survive, in this world that we live in, but essentially it is not the be all and end all. Ultimately, your wealth actually comes from it's an internal thing. It's about how much you are open and able to trust the universe to give you all that you, I don't want to use the word deserve, but I want to use the word are. It's about our biggest wealth is in our own belief in ourselves and belief in the universe, and that is working for us. Money can only last so long and only be held onto for so long. So you might see yourself changing your value systems in terms of money, finances, security. This could see you breaking away from a partnership, perhaps breaking away from, we saw this in your May astrology, didn't we? This could see you breaking away from a partnership, breaking away from a long-standing relationship with somebody in which you were both invested in some way. It could be you were invested in your future, you were financially invested in a property or a business, but it could see you wanting to break away and do it on your own. Now, some of you will be in businesses or in business partnerships, or will own businesses where you are, sorry, I'm a fiddler, where you are working with other people. And there will be this sense of dissatisfaction and irritation, and it's like itchy feet. And some of you are going to start saying, could I do this better on my own? Could I do this better alone? Because especially if you work with somebody who's not as progressive, who's not as far-sighted, who's not as thinking as out the box as creatively as perhaps you might be, those could see some of you thinking, I'm feeling hemmed in, I'm feeling tied down. And you might have a conversation with that person and say, oh look, we could do this, this and this, and oh, no one's done this before, and we could be really innovative. And they might be like, oh no, I don't know about that, no one's ever done that, no one's ever tried that, so that sounds risky to me. And then it could see you going, kind of thinking about it and going, I can't, I have to, it feels right, I feel like this is the way to go. And it could see you breaking off partnership in order to go your own route, which ultimately could end up to really pay off well in the long run. So, it can play out in a myriad of ways, an absolute myriad of ways. Some of you may invest in the beauty industry. Taurus also rules beauty. Some of you may start working in the beauty industry, investing money in the beauty industry. You may be investing in yourselves. In a beautifying kind of way. Certainly as well, things to do with your self-esteem are going to come to the forefront, and they're going to come to the forefront, I think, as a result of you breaking free of something that you've been a part of for a while. Either that, or you reevaluating your value system. Either one of those two things is going to cause your self-esteem to come into question, to come up for review, or to perhaps take some huge leaps forward. For instance, if you've been with somebody for 20 years and you know you've got joint finances, joint property, you've worked together, you own a business together, you know, and it's been a long time that you've been in this partnership, and suddenly you say, I can't do this anymore, this person is stifling to me and my values do not fit with his or hers, it's time for me to leave. Now suddenly you've got to have the courage and the self-esteem to know that yes, I can do this on my own. So quite often when we're looking at the second house, and especially with Uranus here, yeah, it might be about being innovative, taking a risk, going it alone, being progressive. That takes a certain amount of courage and a certain amount of self-esteem, and so that's why these two things go hand in hand with each other. So do you see how that makes sense? So these are things that come to the forefront, and I can see some of you becoming, you know, really doing well, like I said, especially, I mean, if you're a nature photographer, if you use technology and in some way with nature, then I think that you could really make some huge leaps forward, and you could, yeah, you could make some really huge leaps forward when it comes to new ideas. Don't be afraid to branch out and try things people haven't done. Don't be afraid to be progressive if that's the area that you're in. If you're not in that area, you know, just be prepared for potential financial ups and downs. Be prepared for completely new ways of making money to maybe enter your life, new ways of investing. Be prepared for change around those things. And what I will say is be flexible. Be flexible, because people who won't deal with this energy well are the ones who are inflexible. Uranus tests how flexible we are. And if we are rigid, and if we are unable to move with the flow and with the current, Uranus, electricity, currents, voltage, yeah? If we can't move with that current, we will just get a shock and we will get left behind. And nobody wants to be left behind, okay? So this is really that time to be open to change, be open to new opportunity. And if something happens on the face of it seems catastrophic or awful, know that it wouldn't have broken down if it were really working anyway. Now, the big one that we have all been waiting for, that we're all looking forward to, is Saturn trine Uranus on the 27th of August. This is the big daddy, right, this year. One of the major big daddies. So what is this and why is it important? Sorry, I'm just flipping back to your chart so that I can remember exactly where everything's going on for you. So it's important because Saturn is the old guard. It's the way things have been done. He meets Uranus, the planet of revolution, and they are trining each other. So this is a positive aspect. So this tells us that old establishment, the old ways of doing things are going to be worked out, and are going to be worked out with revolution, forward movement, progressive thinking. They're going to be worked out in a way that can be positive and not so jarring. So for you, this is in your 2nd and 10th house. This is major opportunity. Major opportunity for life-changing career move. All right, a life-changing career move, a major investment. Something big is going to happen around this time, and keep your eyes open. All right, expect to have some surprising, shocking news or opportunity that comes to you, and if and when it does, grab it with both hands. The 27th of August is when we have this going on for you. It will affect your career, it will affect your money, and so this can see a sudden change in, for instance, a sudden leap up, you know, on the financial ladder, a sudden leap up in terms of who you mingle with in society. You know, suddenly all of a sudden you're rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous because you suddenly got this opportunity to, I don't know, go and film something amazing at the Grammys or something, you know. It's that kind of like major kind of opportunity. So that's something I'd really like you to keep an eye out for. But there are going to be all sorts of transits that continue throughout this 8-year period. If you need to keep coming back to this video, then please do. But obviously as I do the monthlies, I will be giving you important dates to watch out for. I only mention the really kind of big ones now because it's too much to keep on mentioning every single little one. Okay guys, now on to your tarot reading. Welcome Aries to the tarot section of your reading. As I was pulling these cards, I was just laughing to myself, you know, because I was like, wow, this is so much of what it just makes so much sense, you know, what I can see. I hope you like my little layout here. We've got Ganesha, little Ganesha Buddha sat here overlooking things. So I just want to explain to you first of all the layout that I've done and why I've done it. So I don't know if you can see, but this actually kind of represents your chart to a certain extent. So this is your first house, Aries, these 3 cards representing your first house, and each inner card represents the root of the matter. This is the second house where Taurus, where Uranus is going into on the 15th of May, or is, depending on when you're watching this. And this is the card that is at the root of the matter. Once again, this is your 10th house, but I wanted to bring your 10th house into focus just because the 10th house and the second house will play off against each other so much over the next 8 years. Capricorn and Taurus are going to affect us all. So I'm involving them in this kind of astrological layout. So you've got your 10th house represented here, your first of the self, and how you will feel about the situation. Then we have your challenges, and then we have the advice as to how to overcome the challenges and what you can rely on, and the things you can pull into your experience to help ease this journey. I haven't pulled anything as far as outcome is concerned because we're talking over an 8-year period now, okay? Anything is possible. It's such a long period of time. So I'm not going to be like, you're going to have this outcome or that outcome. It's going to vary so much for all of you, but this is all about the possibilities and the themes that you're going to be dealing with, okay? Okay, so Aries, first of all, we have you coming in with the Queen of Pentacles, and you're saying, I've worked hard, I've worked long, and I've built up a lot of security. Can we see, though, isn't it interesting, the issues of security that are coming in? We've got the Hierophant on reverse in your 10th house. I mean, that could not be more symbolic of structure and security and our foundations and the big man, you know, the man, basically. As it relates to the big money men and the big bankers and all those who pull the strings behind the veil. And we've got him on the reverse, which is talking to me about the crumbling down of big corporations, of the way things have worked, okay? So I'm glad that I'm seeing what I'm seeing here, although to you some of it may look slightly catastrophic. But we've got this energy in your first house. Well, I don't want to say your first house. This is kind of how you're going to feel about a situation, what the things you're going to go through as a result. I feel for a lot of you, Aries, you have built up a secure foundation. You've built up quite a few resources. You're in a comfortable position. And if you're not in a comfortable position, if you don't have a lot of money behind you, if you don't have a lot of security behind you, and also if you're not clear on your values, this is a time when you will start wanting to become more independent, wanting to know that you have enough to take care of you and yours, that your finances are in check, that your home is in check. There's enough food in the fridge, that roof over your house is going to be there for quite some time. This is a time when you'll be drawn to feel that sense of independence in terms of your resources, which makes so much sense to me because this is kind of what we've been talking about. And I feel like you will be fighting for, I feel like I'm just going to be repeating myself from what I said in your astrology, but you're going to be fighting for and standing up for what it is that you believe you have the right to, what it is that you deserve. And I feel like you will feel confident and courageous enough to be able to go after what you want. My only thing is, what I keep on seeing coming up in this reading is a lack of foresight and a lack of planning in certain areas. And that's what I want you to be aware of. I feel, Aries, you're going to navigate these next 8 years very, very financially focused, quite driven to go out on your own, to be independent. And even if it's not about being independent, you know, if you're coupled up or if you are aligned with somebody in a business partnership or something, you will want yourselves to be independently wealthy. You won't want the government to be able to seize anything that belongs to you. You'll want a financial sense of security that you feel you can really trust as a couple, okay? Now, what's interesting is for some of you, I definitely see relationship breakups. I see partnership breakups. Like I said, this could be business, this could be romantic, long-term partnerships. This could even be actually, I'll go there in a minute, but yeah, for some of you, I definitely see that. And I see a sense for some of you that if that does happen, there's this kind of feeling of, can I go this alone? And a fear of the unknown, you know? Or I know this relationship needs to change. I know it's no longer serving me, but I'm not sure how to navigate this world without this partnership. As much as I don't want to be in it anymore, I'm not sure to navigate without this. And these might be the feelings that you're swinging between. Feeling 1 minute or 1 day, 1 week, you want to be financially independent and you're feeling fierce and you're feeling, you know, ready to push that new business forward in a really progressive way, and to go out and get that investment and to, you know, really just fight for it. And then another day you may be feeling slightly discouraged and thinking, well, I don't know, you know, is this the right path to go down? Which is natural. We all waver, and especially times like this when there's so much change going on, it's natural to bounce between those things. So don't worry about that. But I feel like all in all, what I love the most is I'm seeing fire and earth energy here in terms of how you are going to be feeling about this time in your life. So fire energy is great because it's your energy. It's ambition, it's forward momentum, it's passion, it's got that sense of like the spiritual warrior to it. And we've also got pentacles here, which is great because we're talking about your second house and your investments. So I feel like you're going to be wavering at times between this confidence and this independence, and then at other times thinking, oh, you know, can I do it? I don't know what the future holds. Everything seems so unpredictable right now. And I understand why, because when we look at your second house, we have got a sense of imbalance going on. We have got a lack of planning, and not to say that this is because you haven't planned well enough, but this is to me very Uranian. You could have planned as well as you possibly could have. You could have written out your next, you know, the whole kind of like 10-year life plan of how you're going to invest and where you're going to invest, and suddenly Uranus just throws that lightning bolt into your second house, and you go, what? I was not prepared for this. And suddenly all of your plans, this is what I'm seeing here more than anything, all of those plans have to go out the window, and you have to start strategizing anew. You have to start creating anew. What I'm seeing is what was once stable and what was the source of easy to manifest income, easy to manage investments, suddenly get turned on their head. Suddenly there's a surprise. Now for some of you, I mean, I am going to put this out there, this could be because a partner, especially if you're quite a bit older, this could be to do with a partner having some sort of an illness, or I'm going to say it, passing on to the next phase of life. It could also be to do with a breakup, a divorce, that kind of a thing. But you're going to see change which is out of your hands, I feel, as it relates to your income, your investments, things that you once thought you could trust, especially if you have an excess of them. And in some ways, I'm feeling like some of you do have an excess, and it's the universe is saying you have so much that you are not managing it properly. Do you really need this much? At the bottom of it is this sense of heartache. And I think this heartache either relates to, if we're talking about a breakup, then it's very obviously that. If we're talking about a loss or an illness of somebody that you work with or who you're close to and you're in partnership with, then we're talking about that. But this can also be a heartache in the sense of feeling, it affects, the thing is with our values, the thing with our possessions, the thing is with our money, it's such a personal thing. It's such a personal thing, and that's why, you know, people hate having discussions about money, don't they? People hate asking if you lend your friend £10 and then sometimes you feel really awkward asking for it back because you feel like, I wish I didn't have to ask for that. There are so many emotions tied into money. And so I see that perhaps you're maybe having to confront your sense of worthiness. And that may come up as a result of changes to your financial health, changes to your resources, And so in a sense, you know, it can call into question, how worthy do I feel? How much do I feel the universe is on my side? And it may have you looking at issues of self-worth, because when our self-worth is low, we cannot hold much, we cannot have much, we cannot experience as much as we want to experience, because we don't feel we are worthy to hold it. We are not a big enough container. And the thing is, we are what we believe. And if underneath everything we do not believe we're worthy, then even if we get £1 million tomorrow, it will slip through our hands within 6 months, because it will almost be, there'll be a fearfulness of having it almost, that it will just fly through our hands. And that will be a lesson in how, and we might lament after that, oh my God, I wasted that £1 million. But really it was the universe trying to say, never mind the money, I wanted you to look at your sense of worthiness. And it might, and that would trigger you, wouldn't it, to look at that. So you're going to be looking at worthiness, where you've invested, and looking at surprises around that, and how flexible can I be? Because your manifestational power may come into question. It may well come into question during this transit. And I really think that it's wise for you, Aries, to make plans that are flexible. I want to see Aries with plans that are flexible and that are open to change, because the less open to change you are, and the more rigid you are, like I said in the beginning, the more this is going to just crash down on you. Sorry, I'm just checking we're still recording. Cool. And the more this is going to just crash down on you and shake you to your core. You don't have to experience complete loss if you don't want to. But I think make a plan that is flexible. A long-range plan that is flexible, that involves being a bit progressive, thinking outside of the box, because we're not going to be able to count on the old ways of investing anymore. So look into new ways to invest your money. Look into new technologies to use in your business that are going to give you a better payoff, that are going to make your business succeed better. Look into incorporating these things, because if you stay with the old, you'll find that the old magic tricks you used to work, that you used to use, just won't work anymore. So this is about flexibility and flowing with this energy, okay? And being open to it. But for some of you, I hate to say it, but I feel like there will be perhaps breakups which are what catalyze this need for financial independence, or perhaps even there could be somebody lost in the family, and means you've got to suddenly take more responsibility on financial level. Now, looking at your 10th house, now, by the way, can I just mention, look at how much major arcana activity is going on here. This is what we want to see when we're talking about major transits. We want to see a lot of major arcana activity. I also personally want to see quite a few reversals, because what it means is that it's not so much in your control. This is outside forces. This is the universe working in its magical way through you, with you, in order to make you progress, evolve quicker. And sometimes we hate it, because the best evolution can be really shocking and really bloody inconvenient, but it is the best for us always. So in your 10th house, then, we've got the Ace of Wands on the reverse. We've got the High Priestess, okay, upright, which I'm loving. And we've got the Hierophant in reverse, which I could not be happier to see. So what is the Hierophant? The Hierophant is structure. The Hierophant is belief systems. The Hierophant is the Hierophant is religion. It's church and state. It is government. And he's on the reverse. Aries, look at that. This is everything I'm talking about. This is revolution. This is a status quo. And this is people not wanting to go along with the status quo. Now, this is going to see you, once again, looking at rebelliousness, wanting to do something different, wanting to take new opportunities, not wanting to go down the usual route. And it may well be that for some of you, you get a nasty shock, and this Three of Swords could very well relate to, because the 3 is business as well, could very well relate to maybe a business failing, or even you getting the sack. And then as a result, you feel like, oh my God, what the hell? What am I going to do for money? Suddenly, working for the man isn't an option anymore. So what happens? Well, what happens is then we have to go within, and we have to find our own source of inspiration. We have to listen to our own intuition. Now, the Ace of Wands is on the reverse in the root, which is telling me that some of you may be feeling, in some level, a sense of blockage when it comes to your creativity and your inspiration. But I really like you to open that up, come into that. I feel like some of you may try and resist some of this energy, Aries. I really do. And I'd like you to just be as open as you can, because if you can work with this fresh energy, remember, this is a seed that hasn't gone to full fruition. And in fact, what I'm going to say, I'm going to clarify that. I don't think you're blocked. I think you have ideas. I think there have been new beginnings for you recently. But it's still, the idea still needs nourishing. It still needs bringing forward. Because remember, the ace is the seed. It's the, you can see the little seedlings there. It's the beginnings of a potentially great project, a potentially great business, career, or move in the world. It's the beginnings. But this Ace of Wands in reverse, the Two of Wands in reverse, the Magician in reverse, this is saying to me, you haven't planned in a way that allows for flexible change. So I want to see you guys planning in a way that allows for flexible change, in a way that allows for a bit of damage control. And it seems to me like the way out is use your intuition, go within. And your message is really, even when things look like they are, just checking my camera again. Yeah, we're good. I'm using my old camera, and he has a habit of just deciding that he's had enough. When things may feel like they're not going to plan, just go within and know that surrender is half of the way of mastering this life. We forget that. We think everything's about forward momentum, forward momentum, forward momentum. Surrender is also a big part of it. And what I love about this card, the Hierophant, she is actually one of my favourite cards, and I relate to her so much because I'm a Cancer moon. She is that kind of intuitive goddess, which I suppose I like to consider myself to be sometimes. But what I love about her is that she's the guardian of the veil, and she reminds us that there are things that are unknown to us. There are things that are unknown to us that we cannot know from this standpoint as human beings with our limited consciousness and perception. So although something may seem like it's bad on the surface, you don't know what lies behind the veil. And behind the veil is a vast soup of cosmic gnosis. Okay, so know that whatever plays out, it is for your highest good and your intuition. This could see some of you getting into esoteric subjects, some of you training in astrology, or really utilizing, I would say, Aries, utilize esoteric subjects and your astrology for your timing. If you're going to launch something, look at the astrology of when's best to launch it. Start integrating that into your business, into what you do in the world, so that you have a better chance than anybody else when you go for that interview, or when you go to present that what is it you call it when you want to get an investment, and when you go to that to pitch that pitch. Use esotericism. Why do you think the royal family employed astronomers for years? And they still do, they just don't tell you about it. Many politicians use astronomers and astrologers. They always have done. Astronomy used to involve astrology. The two only became separate when we became very science obsessed, and we wanted to get rid of a lot of the superstition involved in astrology, which was great because there were some things that didn't work. But unfortunately what happened was we separated the two and then said astrology is crap and astronomy is the only thing that's real because it's based on what we can see and touch. Well, not touch, but what we can see. But there was a time when an astronomer was both an astrologer and an astronomer, and they would work for the royal family quite openly. And so I'm getting the message that you need to use your creative, intuitive abilities to progress. Don't be afraid to use that intuition and take risks, and be open to knowing that even if on the surface something doesn't look great at first, it may well behind the superficial actually have far more benefit to it. Right, okay, so what have we got here in your challenges? Right, we've got the Knight of Cups in reverse. This guy keeps on coming up. Who is he? He was in your May reading too, and he came up as the the page, the knight, and then the queen, didn't he? So this is your challenge. This is this immature person that you've been dealing with, this person who's emotionally manipulative, controlling, immature, somewhat, I want to say, schizophrenic in how they present themselves. The drain on your energy. This person has to go on some level, or your attachment to them has to be released, or if not that, you have to work out a way of having them in your life which does not drain your energy. You have an aversion of letting go of whatever the situation is. There's something in you that's saying, no, I don't want to let go of it. I have an attachment to this person, and that is going to be, I think, your biggest challenge to overcome. In some ways. Now, that's not going to be the case for absolutely all of you. Sorry, I just need to, I keep moving about, and I know that must be really, really annoying, but I'm just keeping an eye on your birth chart as well. So that's not going to be the case for all of you. Not your birth chart, your general chart. Yeah, that's not going to be the case for all of you, but for some of you, it's going to be about letting go of whoever this Knight of Cups energy is. It really is, and it's about time, isn't it? Or finding a way to work with them having them in your life, but being independent of them, having a more autonomous role in your life as it relates to them. For some of you, this could also be a resistance to want to go it alone, a resistance to want to branch out and do that business on your own, because you're refusing. This is here, the refusal to change, and this is emotion. So this could be some fear around the changes that are taking place. That's okay, that's natural. I wouldn't really expect anything less. What I do like though is we've got the Seven of Swords in the reverse, which tells me that you will break free of certain mental challenges and certain feelings of restriction. So this break free will come, but it may just take a little bit of time. Okay. Now, in your advice card, not advice card. Sorry, in your so in your advice and in what's kind of working for you, we have here the Five of Wands. Now, fives are actually ruled by the Hierophant, funnily enough. So this is again, you know, saying, I feel like it's saying, don't be afraid to get into the fray and stand up for what it is you want and go after what you want, but know which battles are worth fighting and which ones are just, it's time to walk away from and it's time to leave behind. So choose the battles wisely, but don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, for your values, for your businesses, for yourself in career, should you need to. And what I'm feeling here as well is a sense of, so once again here with Judgment, I'm not entirely sure how much of that you got Aries, because he did that thing that I knew he was going to do and he turned himself off. Okay, so as I was saying, this is a lot of what I expected to see, you know, and I am seeing the possibility of a passing in the family, and it would see more the probability of it being a male, and of course that changes the dynamics, doesn't it, of how we feel in life, how secure we feel in life, you know, and also how finances are handled and things like that. This is not going to be for all of you, so please don't panic, but please also know that death is a natural part of life. It's as natural as being born, you know, and birth is a type of death. It's a death from ultimate consciousness. So that's not going to be for all of you, so please don't think that. But this is going to be, there's going to be transformations and changes for sure. And a lot of it you've just got to flow with, but my advice to you would be, you know, keep focused on what it is that you desire and create a plan around it that is flexible. Allow for a bit of surrender, allow for a bit of openness to the hand of God being in your life and guiding you, even if that hand at times seems somewhat jarring and jolting. And also be open to the possibility of new partnerships as we get further into this transit. Not at the beginning, I wouldn't say, but as we get further in, be open to the possibility of the new, okay? Lovely. And one final thing I'm going to leave you with is this card, which is from my Colette Baron Reid deck, which is beautiful, and it's called Encouragement. And I couldn't think of a better card for you to have pulled, because we can see that there's some self-doubt, there is some not being sure if I should go it alone, there's a bit of fear here. So I love the fact that you got the Encouragement card. And you know, I'd like to read from her little book what she's actually said about it, because her words in these books are really lovely, actually. So where are we? Encouragement. I should have had it ready, really, shouldn't I? Right. So this card tells you that you're being gently encouraged to step into your power, into the dream of your life. Oh my god. I've never pulled this card before, so I didn't even know what this was going to say. I love it. Okay, step into your power, into the dream of your life. New things are out there to be explored, and the nurturing power of the universe is giving you a nudge in the right direction. You will get the help you need and won't be alone in your quest. Every step you take... He didn't die again, did he? No. Every step you take right now is supported by the wisdom of the universe. You're on the right path. Keep going. Now, how beautiful is that to end off that reading with? That beautiful card of encouragement. So fear not, Aries. You are not alone. You are never alone. None of us are truly ever alone. And it's going to be an incredible and life-changing transit for all of us. I hope that you enjoyed that reading. And if you'd like a personal reading with myself, then please feel free to get in touch. Thank you so much for purchasing this reading. I'm very excited to see... Oh, look, there's a Queen of Cups again. Bloody... Honestly, who is this person? Yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen on the world stage, and also for all of us personally as we evolve through this cycle. Much love to all of you guys. Take care.